This happened in 2021 when I was driving for Uber full-time. I live in a city that gets a lot of tourists, especially in the summer, so rideshare gigs can be decent money if you're consistent. I worked mostly nights, partly because I'm a night owl and partly because there's less traffic and better tips from drunk passengers coming back from bars. The night this happened, it was around 1:30 in the morning. Pretty normal Saturday night crowd. I had just dropped off a group of loud college kids who wouldn't stop yelling in the back of my car. So when I got a new request that looked quieter, I was relieved. The name said Chris, and the pickup location was a small side street just off downtown. The weird thing was, the pin wasn't kind of an odd area, not near any bars or apartments, more like behind an old strip mall. I figured maybe it was just a bad GPS marker. Happens sometimes. I drove over and saw a guy standing at the corner, hoodie on, jeans, staring down at his phone. I pulled up and said, "Chris." He nodded and got in the back without saying much. He didn't smell like alcohol or slur his words. He seemed sober, just really quiet. He didn't say hello, nor did he answer when I asked how his night was going. Some people just aren't talkers, so I didn't think much of it. The drop-off was on the opposite side of town, 25 minutes away, a suburban neighborhood I'd only been to once or twice. The thing was, it was dark out there. No streetlights in some areas. Pretty isolated. About 5 minutes into the trip, I noticed Chris had his phone out, but he wasn't texting or calling anyone. He was holding it flat in his lap, with the flashlight on, shining the beam upward, slightly toward my seat. I glanced in the mirror and asked, half joking, "Everything all right back there?" He mumbled, "Yeah," then turned the flashlight off. The next 20 minutes were dead silent. Just the hum of the engine and a weird pressure building in the air. It's hard to explain, but something felt off. Not threatening, just wrong. Like he wasn't fully present. We got to the neighborhood and I followed the GPS to the house. But when we pulled up, I noticed something strange. No porch light, no inside lights, no signs of life. I asked, "Is this the right place?" No response. I turned around and looked at him. "Hey, is this it?" Still nothing. I repeated myself louder. He stared past me out the window. Finally, he nodded. I parked and said, "Have a good night." He didn't move. I asked, "You good?" He finally reached for the handle and stepped out. But he didn't close the door. He just stood there, door wide open, facing the house. I waited 10 seconds, 20 a full minute. I was just about to say something when he suddenly turned around, looked at me through the open door and said, "I need to go back." I blinked. "Back where?" He said, "Where you picked me up." His tone was flat, robotic. I didn't know what to say. That was a 25-minute drive. Not like I could just reverse the trip. I told him he'd have to request a new ride. He just stared at me. Then he begged, "Please, I need to go back." I said again, "You have to request it through the app." That's when he said something that froze my blood. "I can't." "They're not gone yet." I paused. "Who's not gone?" He didn't answer. He just stood there, breathing heavily. I started getting seriously uncomfortable. "Look," I said, "I can't just start a new ride unless..." He suddenly backed away and closed the door. Then he turned and walked up to the house, even though it was still completely dark and silent. I waited until he got to the porch. Then I pulled off. As I turned the corner, I ended the trip in the app and headed back downtown. A couple blocks later, I stopped at a 24-hour gas station to grab a drink and use the bathroom. I parked at the side of the building, went inside, and came back out maybe 4 minutes later, and that's when I felt like my brain circuited. Chris was sitting in the back seat, same hoodie, same expression, same exact spot. I was sure I had locked the doors. I opened the driver's door slowly and got in, keeping my eyes on him through the mirror. "How did you get back in?" I asked. He just said, "Take me back." I said, "I'm calling the cops," and reached for my phone. That's when he leaned forward, close enough for me to hear his breaths, and whispered, "They're still in the house." I don't know why I didn't call. Something about the way he said it. It was like he was trapped in something I couldn't understand. I played along. Whose house is that? I asked. He said, my parents. Do you live there? Not anymore. That made the hair stand up on my neck. I started driving back to where I picked him up. Every instinct in me was screaming not to. As we got closer, his breathing got heavier. He started rocking in the back seat. At one point, he whispered, they're still there. They won't leave, no matter what I do. When we pulled up, the house was still completely dark. He got out without a word and walked up to the front door. He didn't knock. He just stood there. I waited 30 seconds, then drove off. I parked 3 blocks away under a streetlight and just sat there, trying to process everything. I debated calling the cops, but what would I even say? There was no crime, just a guy saying weird things. Eventually, I drove home. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I reported the ride to Uber, but honestly, I should have called the police. That man might have needed serious help. I still wonder, was that really his house? Were his parents ever even there? Or was he the only one left behind?